Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and this is another edition of the Blues Fix on misplacedstraws.com. And my guest today is not only one of the great bluesmen of the last 30 years, but he is one of the great guitar players in any genre. He burst on the
Wow.
scene in 91 with the killer track Sign of the Storm, and he continues his legacy now with his latest record called Crown, which is out January 28th. Please welcome Mr. Eric Gales. Welcome, Eric.
Hey, man, thank y'all for having me, man. I appreciate this opportunity to get on this platform. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Now, Crown is a monster record. And I mean,
Thank
all
you.
of your records have been fairly personable, but the lyrics here are completely autobiographical. What led you to open up so much about your story on this record?
Well, to be really honest with you, man, somewhere in all of my previous records is my autobiographical
Mhm.
story. I generally talk about things that I've been through, but for some reason, you know, with the state of the world and where it was in, man, we dug a little bit more deeper on things that I felt that really needed to be talked about and give people a little bit more insight on things that I've been through, things that we currently deal with, and change that is desperately needed in this world.
Yeah. And you've been through a lot in your life, which has all been well documented. So when you share your story like this, is it sort of a cleansing experience for you? Is it kind of to show others that there's a way out of whatever they're in, or kind of a little bit of both?
It's absolutely, I would say, half and half of both. Telling my story, purges me, and at the same time, I tell my story because someone listening, if not themselves, has a close family member that's going through the same things that I am talking about in a song, or got a close friend or a loved one somewhere that's in the same predicament. And it's hope for them as a person that cares for someone in addiction or in a situation, or the person that's addicted. It's just to let them know that, man, this guy been through hell, and he with the love of support and grace and mercy from a higher power, and just the warm loving arms of my significant other, man, you know helped me saw that there was a thing out here called life, and I wasn't living it. And I just came up on 5.5 years 3 days ago.
Mhm.
In the anonymous program, you don't really celebrate half a years or whatever, but I have to go outside the parameters a little bit and just say any day, still going forward is a stride toward the right direction. So for some of those that are not even aware of it being an anonymous program out there to help you, and have no savviness about that, to them, they don't know that the significance of mile markers in the clean and sober community. But for those that aren't aware, any day, above ground, still going in the
Mhm.
right direction, and being able to give hope to somebody, that's a good thing.
Yep. And first of all, congratulations on your 5.5 years. That's a major milestone. Uh, it-
We're back.
yeah.
Okay.
Now, I mean,
Well,
the sequencing of the record is perfect. I mean,
thank you.
lyrically, this almost feels like a blues concept album, anchored by I Want My Crown and Survivor. Now, it's simple to say that this is a record about redemption, but I think what makes this an Eric Gales record is this record is about asking forgiveness. This is a record about demanding respect and change. And is that sort of your goal when
Yes, sir.
telling this story?
I mean, I haven't quite heard it that way, but that is a pretty accurate
Mm,
assumption
mm,
of, I hesitate to use the word demand, but in some cases and scenarios, that word fits properly.
Mhm.
You know, that I have paid my dues, man. I've been in the fire. I've been in the fire, not too close to the fire. I've been
Mhm.
in the
Yeah.
fire for quite some time, man. And to make it out of that alive and still have all my working organisms and can still play, you know, even though it's a little bit, can still play
Mhm.
and try to encourage someone else, man. That is a milestone of an accomplishment. And Joe encouraged me to not be ashamed of that. And if that's something that the world needs to know, then don't be ashamed to let them know, hey man, I didn't just start yesterday.
Mhm.
I've been here for a minute. And now I have now elevated myself to the level of where my peers and myself, I can look in the mirror and be very proud of accomplishments that have come before me.
And you mentioned Joe Bonamassa had a big impact on this record, and you guys kind of came up together as kids in the early 90s. You and Joe, you kind of reunited on stage a little while back. How did that reunion kind of come about?
Man, so Joe has these cruises that he do, and he just said, man, Eric, man, I know that you're back on the right path, and let's just go blow them away. And he picked a song, and we got up there, and man, it was like old times, man. It was wonderful. We cried, we hugged each other, and it stirred up something, man. It stirred up something. Within a week or two, that clip had been in the millions of views,
Mhm.
and the world began to notice that Eric Gales is back with a vengeance, man. And when I say back with a vengeance, it means that vengeance means that I'm here and I'm not looking back to who I once was. Things are going forward, and my eye is on a prize much higher than anybody can see. And Joe recognized that, and he said to me, "Man, I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure you get where you deserve to be."
Mm. And again, Crown is your 18th record, so you've been at this a while. And really,
Uh-huh.
other than the work that you did with your brothers, is the collaboration with Joe the most that you've really worked that close with someone on a record before?
All of my records, I work close with, colleagues. Mike Varney at Shrapnel,
Mm.
I consider him still a dear friend of mine, and a lot of the things that we did, I still hold near and dear to my heart. Matt Wallace, the producer with Faith No More, and
Mhm.
myself off of the Bookends album. Fabrizio Grassi, who produced Middle of the Road. All of these albums are essential moments for me, but this one is the next tier, you
Mhm.
know, in the songwriting and my vocal work, in the songs, it's a different thing. I haven't done any. I've done none of my records. I've done this way, you
Mhm.
know, and it's when I say this way, I kind of let go of the wheel and followed suit on a few things, but quite a bit of it, I not necessarily had to demand my input, but voiced my opinion and it was heard.
Mm.
And it was a great collaboration. I call it a meeting of great minds.
Mhm.
And I think, man, we knocked one out of the park. And most, if not everybody that I've spoken to, the word Grammy have come out of their
Yeah.
mouth about this record. And it won't be this year, but next year I'm coming.
Mhm.
And good luck to everybody that's in there. Joe's in there this year.
Mhm.
Kingfish is in there. Steve Cropper's in there. All friends of mine. And some others that are in there, man. And my hats off to all of them. And that's a high achievement, But we put some work into this record. We're really proud of it.
Mm. And throughout the record, you have sort of these little like kind of spoken word intros to certain songs and these, short musical interludes that come in between certain pieces. And they kind of bring it all together as a concept. What was the idea behind some of those quick 1 minute instrumentals in between some of the
So,
songs?
so the thing behind those was me and Joe, talked about, man, some of the things that inspired us coming up as young lads, and still do. So we would hear Albert King record or a Bobby Blue Bland record or a Freddie King record. And, at the end of an A side, it would be maybe 30 seconds of a serious groove, and it would fade back in on side B with 30 more seconds. You know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
it would just something, you just hear something and it would make you want more. And that was the idea behind. You said, let's do it. I was like, let's do it, man. You know what I mean? Let's put a couple of little pieces on here that make them say, wow, I wish it was more of that. Who knows? So that idea, maybe those grooves are potential songs that I use on the next record.
Mm. I think you could tell I really love this record. It just,
Thank you, man.
it's
Thank
a
you.
powerful piece of music. Would
Thank
you
you.
ever consider when you hit the road doing this record end to end? I think it needs to be heard in its entirety.
Well, the release date is January 28th that I'm doing in my hometown. And Joe Bonamassa is coming as a special guest, and Mono Neon is also coming as a special
Uh-huh.
guest. And short of maybe one or two songs, it will be done from end to end.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a record that needs to be heard in its entirety, not in pieces. So I think that's
Right.
a great
Thank you,
idea.
man. Thank you so much, man. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And that, mentioned how you and Joe kind of came up together as kids in the 90s. And there was that generation of the two of you guys, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Johnny Lang, Eric Johnson. And I
Yes,
think
sir.
more than any other generation before or after, you guys changed the game. You took sort of this 100-year-old genre that could have been on the brink of extinction, and you brought new life and energy to it. You fused it with rock, you fused it with elements of hip hop, but I think most of all, you brought it to the masses on the radio. What do you think
Wow.
it is about your generation that just redefined what the blues is?
That's a good question, man.
Mm,
I don't know.
mm,
For me, like you mentioned, there are multiple different inspirations and influences that I pull from. And maybe that may be the thing that is possibly appealing to this newer generation because of all of the different elements
mm.
that they hear in an Eric Gale show, or and they say, "Wow, I never heard it done like that before." You know what I mean? That, I think, is the way that evolution is supposed to be. It's supposed to show it's supposed to show through you how you were influenced by what you were influenced by, and but also yet show your own fingerprint, your own DNA blended in your perspective, of it. Why go to a music store and buy an imitation of someone when you can go a
Right.
few rows down and buy the real thing?
Mhm.
So my brother told me that quote at a young age, and it stuck with me for the rest of my life. That's not giving any degradation to predecessors before, but it also at some point needs to stamp a validation for you in the present day time.
Mhm. Yeah, and you guys all did that. That's for sure. And
Thank you.
Crown, it feels like a statement. It sums up your story to date. Does it feel liberating, almost like you're ending a chapter and starting a whole new career off of this record?
Yes, I can say that it does. In certain instances, I say that it does. In certain instances, it's nothing. Honestly, it's nothing. It's not really something that's that new as it pertains to me, because
Mm,
I've been doing this and speaking about myself and playing from
mhm.
my heart and soul and giving every a million percent every night when I hit the stage. So that has been there, the whole time. I guess now the world is finally catching on.
Mhm.
So to them, it could seem as though it's a closing of a chapter and the opening of a new one, or to a lot of people, this is going to be a book that they just opened for the first time.
Yeah.
So, who knows? I mean, and the fun will be in the journey of going back 18 records. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So, How, however, if it works going forward or works going backwards, either way it works for me. I mean, look at me, I play backwards and upside down, so I'm with it either way.
And you mentioned the release show for on the 28th when the record comes out. Any other touring plans, or just kind of waiting to see what the world's going to do?
We're kind of that, but we got dates on the books, man, that we're looking forward to making happen, and we're trying to go forward. We have some UK dates in the end of March. We got the 2 cruises, the Rock Legends cruise, the Joe Bonamassa cruise, and we got a lot of things coming up and planned this year, and we hope to see them all through.
Yep. Well, I'm up here in Connecticut. Can't wait to have you up here again, and we can say hello in person.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Thank you.
We've been spending some time here with the amazing Eric Gales. The record is called Crown. It's out January 28th, and I can't recommend it highly enough. It's January, but we already have some hat thrown in for record of the year. That's for sure. So, Eric, thank you so much, man. My friend. Best of luck with the record, and hopefully we catch you on the road soon.
Thank you so much. I look forward to it, man.
You got it. Have a good one.
Okay, ciao.